Okay, hello everybody on Facebook. We're just going to give it a minute just to make sure that I'm coming out live and my laptop's off to the side. So just bear with me before I get into the main bulk of this little quick webinar I'm doing on foundation and certainly preparation for hill work, and give you a little bit of information and a little bit of a heads up about some exciting stuff I've got going on. So just bear with me. I'm just going to check my laptop. Let's just make sure that's coming out live. Okay, cool. Okay, so hopefully a couple of people would be joining me. Very quickly, I'm going to do this very quick live just to tell you a little bit about the launch that I've got going on. I'm in the middle of this week. I'm going to be doing several lives, telling you a little bit about my online training and a little bit of an exclusive offer that I have for anybody that joins this week. You're going to get a little bit of a surprise bonus and a certain, as I say, to help you guys out in this time, a very limited offer. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that at the end of this little quick presentation. Okay. So I wanted to just very quickly do this live. I posted some pictures of my dogs doing heel work on Instagram, and there's a couple of common questions that I get asked whenever I put anything to do with heel work or any training, and they always tend to be around a similar theme. One is, how do you start heel work training off, which I'm going to show you with a couple of my dogs, and the other thing is how do you start any training? How do you actually get your dog's training going for sports, going from the get-go with a tiny puppy? So some of you may have seen that over the last couple of weeks I posted some videos of my two puppies, Jungle and Hottie, and starting out their training, and where I put my emphasis at this stage. So really it's about building blocks, and it's starting from the ground up and laying a really, really solid foundation. Just have a slurp of coffee. I don't know about anybody else, but I have really bad hay fever, and it makes my throat a little bit dry, so bear with me. So it's all about, dog training is all about building blocks and starting with a really, really, really solid foundation from the base, of which everything is built on. And it doesn't really matter what sport you train. So, for example, I teach people that do obedience, agility people, IGP handlers, World Championship level competitors, heel work to music, rally, a real broad spectrum field trial people I've trained and been involved with their training, and it's always about laying a solid foundation. And the more foundation skills that your dog has, the easier, the ironic thing is, the easier that your training journey becomes. In regards to heel work, there's some real core skills that will help you when you lay your foundation. If you incorporate them, it makes heel work training that bit easier. All right, so I'm going to go over those really, really quickly. What was my pen? Okay, the first thing to consider when you're training dogs is to create, number one, is focus and engagement. Okay, now that means attention. Okay, and building reinforcements. Oh, spelling this one a bit rough. Right. So, building reinforcements and also identifying reinforcements, I should say. So, every dog is going to come. Sorry, let me just write that first. Every dog is going to come with a slightly different variation in what the things that it loves, it likes, it really enjoys. And it's down to us as trainers or owners or handlers to identify which one's applicable to that specific dog. So Jungle and Hottie are already developing different things that they prefer. Gosh, I'm sweating terrible. It's really hot in here. Let me just open the door. Bear with me. So it's really important that as a trainer we identify the things that our dogs love, they like, and they absolutely are going to go head over heels for. And we can manipulate those things, and some of those things are going to be easy for us to use, like toys and food, etc. Some of the things are going to be a little bit more challenging. So for example, if your dog really likes to chase things, that's harder to manipulate to use at your own end. But however, we can incorporate games which utilise chase to build value for us into the things that we want, i.e. toys and food. Okay? So focusing engagement is the big one initially. Second thing that I want to start to work on with my dogs is body awareness. Okay? And these two things, okay, are going to massively, massively help my dog when it comes to heel work training, and that's what we're going to look at with my dog shortly. So body awareness would include core strength, balance, and proprioception. I'm not even going to attempt to spell that. Okay, proprioception, where your dog understands how how to maneuver spaces and how to be aware of what's around it. I'm going to not even attempt to put that word because I'm going to spell it hideously wrong and I'm going to look really, really stupid. So I'm going to avoid spelling it, but you get the idea of proprioception. All those three things are going to massively help my dog when it comes to heel work. So my dog is going to have more understanding of its four quarters, or the four parts of its body, and also how to move sideways, how to hold its body in a certain manner, etc., etc. Now within that also, I'm going to teach a couple of skills. Okay, one is a hand touch. Okay, and the other one is the dog to be able to stand four square. Okay, now those things might sound very simple. Okay, but they're going to underpin all of your heel work training and all of your sports training. Whether it's an agility dog, an obedience dog, a work and trials dog, it doesn't really matter. These things are going to help you throughout your whole dog's career. So let's move on. So hopefully everybody's got those. So when it comes to heel work training, okay, specifically, what we're looking for is our dog to work with a level of engagement and focus and energy and drive within that. And those things need to be built from the dog having value for that initial behaviour, which will be a hand touch. So there's many ways of which you can teach a hand touch, okay? But my two preferential options of training a hand touch, one is the dog to do what I call the Morse code effect, and that's where the dog will, Morse code, where the dog will initially tap once, okay, and I click that. So the dog will tap my hand, and I will click the dog and reward the dog. What I then do is I withhold the click, and I get the dog to repeatedly tap. Again, I'm going to show you those with my two puppies. I'm going to show you different versions where they tap, and they once I've got the dog tapping once, I withhold the click, and the dog will repeatedly tap. Then I look to shape the dog to sustain the contact on the hand. That's one version. The other version of which I can teach a hand touch is a lured method, okay? Ooh, lured method. Where I hold the treat. Pen's dying, let's change pen. Where I hold a treat in my hand, very specifically, and I click the dog for making contact, and then I fade the treat out of the hand. Both methods have pros and cons, and it's really identifying the one that you're most comfortable with and the one that you find works best for your dog. And there's many dogs, many options of how to adapt those principles to get what you want. The things I'm looking for is it should be a duration hand touch, okay? And I want the dog to be able to, for this behaviour to be proved. So the dog will sustain that hand touch irrespective of what I'm doing, and also the dog doing it with movement, okay? And I want the dog to do it with a level of energy. Ooh. Okay? So the dog can do my hand, complete a hand touch, sustain that hand touch, and that does it with a level of velocity and energy. So I want the dog to drive into that position. Now, depending on the dog, would also dictate what I then did with it, whether I would use it to create more upward momentum and get the dog driving up, whether I want the dog to stretch out, and so forth and so forth. So I'm going to run you through those skills with my puppy shortly and show you how to create a hand touch and the things that you can do with it. Hand touches are great for loads of reasons. People teach it now readily for various skills, for nose work, for agility, for article indication, for positioning their dog, for veterinary exams, loads and loads of skills. So it's a really good skill to teach. I use it specifically for heel work to build duration, to build my dog's ability to sustain a position whilst there's distractions. I can introduce stewarding, and I can introduce people moving around my dog, etc., etc., before my dog has the skill set to do heel work on the leg. All right? So we're going to go over hand touches with my dogs, and the other skill that we're going to look at, as I mentioned, is the importance of the dog standing square and in balanced. Okay, so full square. Now this is almost like I want my dog to act like a little show dog, to stand and on it with their feet balanced, totally in line with each other. And I want the dog to be able to do that in any position. In front of me, side, in front of me coming towards me, in front of me going that way or this way, depending on the sport I do, but it's good to have the dog understand it irrespective of where I am. And I'm looking for the dog to also to be able to move, okay, so four square and any position. And I want to do it from movement. Okay, and the reason that you want to teach that is that that's a precursor to your dog being able to set off properly and to be able to manoeuvre for turns and to be able to find heel up position initially. So there's loads of things that we can do with it. So preparing for turns. Turn for turns. Okay. And it's also the dog's is also correct when it's technically correct. So the dog is able to stand square in front of me and therefore by my side, the dog's going to be technically correct. I can also work on my dog being able to do it from a sit to a stand, okay? And that's where the dog will go forward into it. So that's another skill that my dog needs to develop. So it can go from sitting to standing, which is the first step of which when I move off in a heel up position. I also want my dog to be able to sustain this again when it's been proofed. So the dog should be able to remain in that position and also move laterally, forward, turn on the spot, etc. and find that being four square. So we're going to do a little bit of work on that as well. So you'll see how these things will then underpin heel up position. And also it's a great way to build in physical strength for my dog. So I'm going to show you how that gets laid into their training. So a couple of little things there just to get you thinking about heel up training and foundation training for any dog sport. If there is any questions at this point, just stick them on the thread and I'll have a look at them quickly. Let's just have a look. Let's have a look. Any questions? Okay. Let's just have a look at any questions. Okay, so no questions at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change with the camera where the camera's going to be. I'm going to get my puppy in, I'm going to get Jungle in and show you some of these skills with her that she's got and she's learning. And I'll show you a little bit with Hottie how she's beginning to understand those. I might actually do her first so that you can see the progression. Alright? So bear with me, I'll be along shortly again. If you have any questions, just post them in the thread and I will pick them up. Alright? So for now, for me, I'll see you in a second.